Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. Cardi B drugging and robbing men makes her a predator. 12 of the most unpopular opinions of Reddit. Amy Schumer is a self-confessed rapist and thus deserves to be in jail. In a speech Schumer gave at the Ms. Foundation for Women's Gloria Awards and Gala, she confessed to having sex with a college friend that was so drunk, he couldn't even get an erection, let alone consent to having sex. And then came the sex, and I use that word very loosely. His penis was so soft, it felt like one of those de-stress things that slips from your hand. Sex without consent is the very definition of rape. Amy also confessed to sexually assaulting her male cab driver in a podcast and casually laughed about it. Nobody cared. In the video Opie and Anthony, Amy Schumer in studio June 5, 2012, Amy admits to forcefully grabbing her driver's hand, putting it on her vagina and getting the driver to finger her. The host says, "So you raped a guy?" and Amy replies, "Yeah, I know. When I tell this story I say I let a cab driver finger me, but really I took his hand." Sick. If the genders were reversed and a male comedian had confessed to stuff like this twice, he'd be in jail after public outrage. Why the double standards? Amy Schumer is a self-confessed rapist. Being a single dad with half custody is just as hard as being a single mom, but I don't have a rally cry of support behind me. My ex has women telling her on social media how amazing she is for raising kids at her own and how strong and independent she is for picking herself up after the divorce that she caused with her affair, and being a mom. I have none of that. It's not that my friends don't think I'm a good dad, it's that as a society, we have made the single mom a sort of unsung hero. What about single dads? We do the same. I work and take care of my kids the same way, but I don't get celebrated like I'm doing something amazing. I just get the recognition that almost all dads get. Nothing. I'm all for being kinky, but certain kinks are just a mental illness masquerading as being sexually adventurous. Like if you like to be called daddy in bed, it's a bit Freudian, weird maybe, but I don't mind, you know? If you want to be tied up, have hot wax poured on your boobies or snort coke of a dude's dong, I don't mind at all. But if you actually dress up as a baby and shit your diaper and get your rocks off to this, or pretend to be an animal and get off on animals or babies, even if they are just pretend animals and pretend babies, then it goes beyond a normal fetish and into the realm of mental illness. Calling someone out for basically being into pedophilia or bestiality and hiding it as a fetish or kink that should be understood and respected isn't kink shaming, it's just being a concerned citizen and perfectly fine. Young men opting out of society to play video games and focus on their hobbies are acting completely reasonable. There are a lot of whiny articles recently about how men don't go to university at the same rate as young women, don't work as many hours as they used to, and in general participate less in society, and rather play video games or something. This naturally comes at the expense of traditional life attainments such as working yourself to death, having an insanely expensive wedding, and being the sole provider for a family that will eventually kick you out. Just a few examples: put a ring on it? Millennial couples are in no hurry, New York Times. Why are millennials putting off marriage? Let me count the ways, Washington Post. Etc. If you read through these articles, you will find that the theme is men bad because they refuse to play the social role written for them. It's mostly from the perspective of how this creates problems for women in the long run, but still that's the core of it. Contrary to what these journalists would have you believe, I think these young men are acting completely rationally when opting out of this life script. There just aren't enough incentives to play this role, it is too risky and too exhausting, and I can personally see how one would derive way more satisfaction from hanging out with one's mates, playing video games, or being in a band. Young men don't owe society anything. We should just live, and let people enjoy their lives in the way they want to, instead of judging them. Can I just say, we don't live in a world where everyone gets offended all the time. We live in a world where the very small minority are given a voice by the media because reporting that no one got offended isn't news. The best thing we could possibly do is just ignore them. There's this constant thing at the minute where we talk about how everyone gets offended all the time, and the reality is it just isn't true. Social media has like-minded individuals the opportunity to find each other and create a larger voice. We act like we're living in a world where the average person is this upset by everything snowflake, when in reality the average person is as sick of it as everyone else. I mean, how many of you have actually met one of these people? Because I only hear about people getting upset with things like, "Baby, it's cold outside." If you don't want to donate your organs after you die, you shouldn't be allowed to receive donated organs. The only exception is if you cannot donate an organ for medical reasons. I've heard people say that they would accept a donated organ, but they wouldn't be happy to donate one, which is the height of selfishness in my opinion. Letting people die so that a dead religious person can keep their organs, which will be cremated or buried, is insane. Cardi B drugging and robbing men makes her a predator. In a recently discovered online video, Cardi B claims I had to go strip, I had to go, oh yeah, you want to have sex with me? Yeah, let's go back to this hotel, and I drugged men up, and I robbed them. That's what I used to do. That is the work of a predator. Maybe it isn't as bad as Bill Cosby, but as they both drug people, the two can be compared. Cardi B should not be a celebrated public figure. As a stripper, you are already making way more than minimum wage. If you can't survive off of a stripper's salary, you should go ahead and crawl back into your mother's womb because most people survive off less. How many of those men overdosed from the drugs and never made it out of the hotel room? We will never know. An alleged victim has come forward. He claims she stole $850, an iPod Touch, a belt, and she also raped him. Okay, boomer is a completely reasonable and well-deserved response from millennials and younger generations due to the mess that the previous generations left us to deal with and their refusal to take responsibility for their actions. Facts: millennials earn 20% less than baby boomers did, despite being better educated. Cost of college has gone up at 8 times the rate of wages. There is not one single state in the United States where a full-time, just above minimum wage job can support a one-bedroom apartment. Student loans now make up the largest chunk of non-housing debt in America, and many entry-level jobs now require a degree. Cost of living is up 300% or more since the 1970s, but wages are only up 50 to 70%. For example, the Bureau of Census reports that the average price of a new home in June 1998 was $175,900. According to inflation, that price today should be $271,931. The same report places the average sale price for June 2018 at $368,500, however, more than 35% higher than the price when accounting for inflation alone. A gallon of gas in 1994 cost $1.06, making it $1.64 in June 2014, when adjusted for inflation. The actual national average price, as of July 2018, is $2.88 to 75% higher than what it would be if inflation were the only cause for the increase. The median household income in 1998 was $38,885. The most recent year with full data available is 2017, so adjusting for inflation as of that year gives a median income of $58,487. The Bureau of Census reports that the actual median 2017 income was $59,000, higher than the adjusted figure, but not by very much, and certainly nowhere near the percentage that prices have outpaced inflation. This did not happen by accident, this happened because of greed. CEO salary and shareholder profits have outstripped wages and cost of living by a factor of between 3 and 8 depending on the source you read. Millennials truly have it harder than our parents did. We cannot afford to put ourselves through school working a part-time job, they could. We cannot afford to have one parent stay at home, they could. We cannot afford to buy a house on a single income, they could. And yet, boomers have the audacity to tell us that we need to just work harder, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. That we're lazy and entitled. No, we're not. The data shows that millennials work just as hard as our parents' generation, but we struggle more. For years now, when boomers have told us, "You're lazy and entitled and we need to just work harder," we've tried to explain this to them, and they don't listen. We learned that there's no point in trying to convince them, nothing will change their mind. So now we just say, "Okay, boomer. Can Marvel shut the hell up for like a decade at least?" They're oversaturating the market to the extent that they're really going to go the way of the Western at some point. Talk about franchise fatigue. Yeah, Marvel isn't immune. They're going to crash, and crash hard at one point. And, no, the positive reviews they keep getting really aren't honest, and that's been getting more transparent in all the latest Marvel releases. From a craftsmanship perspective, they simply aren't good films and have been barely nominated for technical awards. The stories are simplistic and very heavy on fan service and basic roller coaster action movie techniques. They're almost identical to the Transformers movies, just with slightly better creative vision. No, I'm not the arbiter on what films are trash and what films are good, or anything, but But the critics load a party with fresh scores for every Marvel film with dozens of complaints about the films and just end up designating it 4 stars or fresh because it's fun, I guess, or it'll work for the audience it's meant for. These films are graded on a massive curve, and the only reason people like them is because it's in the zeitgeist too. Of all the franchises and stories that have become extremely successful across the decades, Marvel is the one that earned that success the least. It just pushes out constant, uninspired, artistically vacant films on a conveyor belt and calls them new and creative because they change up the setting a bit. No, I'm sorry, that's not the picture of creative dexterity. They're safe, bland, blow-em-up action films. We get it, females are empowered. I've got a son and a daughter, and every time I go to shop for clothes, I see girls' shirts with slogans like "The future is female" and "Future President" and "Girls Run the World." Boys? You get superheroes and monster trucks. Commercials seem to focus more on girls taking on typically boy-oriented activities now. It gets pretty old. Girls get all these awesome, uplifting, powerful messages that you can be, do, accomplish anything. Little boys? Not so much. Even calling someone bossy is frowned upon. I got corrected by a nosy woman for telling my daughter she was being too bossy with her brother. Was told no, she's just strong and executive-minded. Thanks for undermining my parenting, lady. We get it. Quit browbeating us. Thanking God for something a human clearly did is a massive insult to that person. I'm not sure if this is truly a massive unpopular opinion, but I've seen enough posts and comments online. I've had enough. I have nothing against religion. You can believe whatever you want to believe in order to get through life and live your best one. However, critiquing others, no matter how positively, by thanking a being we have no concrete proof exists for the doing of someone else is just a massive insult and injustice. I've seen so many posts and comments on nice posts about how, for example, God is amazing for helping those doctors save that little girl, and for successfully giving her the surgery she needs. No. I don't care how real you think he is, God had nothing to do with that. Those men and women went to many years of medical school, where they learned from and were taught by other professionals, not God, and paid many dollars to get to where they are. God did not guide that person's hand, skill, knowledge, training, and their muscles did. God did not come down from the heavens. God did not pick up a scalpel and fix your child. God did not do that surgery. They did. And saying that God did is a massive insult to that person because it negates everything they've done in order to save someone. It completely ignores the effort, time, money, and passion they put into their career and life in order to save someone else's. Especially if that person is not religious. Sure. You can call it a miracle or God's work if you had just enough milk for your cereal or finished both the shampoo and conditioner at the same exact time. God didn't do that either, for all of your previous actions did, but whatever. It doesn't really matter because nobody did anything monumental and praiseworthy there. But to say that God did something amazing like save a child's life, take down a school shooter, apprehend a thief, found a missing person, etc. is just wrong. It's simply appalling and unfair, and blatantly discredits the actual people who went through many tiring, challenging, immense processes to give someone something amazing. You're giving the praise to a, quite frankly, fictional being rather than the physical ones that concretely and very obviously sacrificed so much for you. It's just wrong. Preheating the oven is a scam ran by the government to take your money. Every time I buy a frozen pizza, I put that sassy bee in right when I start the oven. Why? Because I've figured it out. That's right, Uncle Sam, I'm on to you. The directions for my favorite pizza is to heat the oven to 425 F and cook for 15 minutes. My oven takes 14 minutes to preheat. So, this whole cooking process takes about 30 minutes? No way. No chance in hell. When I shove my pizza in that oven prematurely, I add 3 to 4 minutes to compensate. This means I wait a total of 18 to 19 minutes versus 30. And guess what? It tastes delicious. Ask any of my friends. I cook them frozen pizzas all the time, and they can't get enough, thanks to my unequivocal superior intelligence. The pizza turns out just fine, and it poses no health threat. Source: I've been doing this for 12 years. So nice try, Mr. President. I know you want all of us to cook our pizzas for that extra 10 minutes to make us use a little extra electricity. Maybe it isn't significant if one person cooks their frozen Italian love pie for 10 extra minutes, but you're a thinker. You're looking at the grand scheme of things. Millions of people cooking their pizza for 10 minutes extra? That's straight theft, my man. And I ain't giving in to that scheme. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more unpopular opinions. Let us know in the comments what you think about this video. And don't forget to share your opinions about these opinions.